Next we have 64th Street, A Detective Story, a game I'd never heard of until I downloaded the Arcade Archives version specifically for this video. Just for a bit of trivia, I actually recorded my playthroughs of this game the same night I recorded Empire City 1931. Set in October in the year 1939, the rich man's daughter has been kidnapped by the Legacy Organisation, an evil corporation. The man turns to a private detective agency owned by Rick Anderson and his apprentice Alan Toombs, and hands in the letter the organisation left him. Alan manages to decipher a code in the ads in a newspaper written similar to the letter between the leaders of Legacy, and the two use it to go after the crime lords and find the kidnapped daughter. I can play as both Rick and Alan, meaning 2 playthroughs. I'll start with my Rick playthrough on 64th Street, the first level. It's a fairly standard beat 'em up for 1991. Just 2 buttons, attack and jump. I can pick up weapons to wield like spanners and pipes. There's a special attack by pressing both buttons together that can change depending on when you use it, such as while getting up after being knocked down. I guess this game's big draw would be the throws, since it's what's in the game's key art. You can throw your enemies in a few different directions, but the main appeal is throwing them back to smash up the buildings. Rick was the character I liked more of the two, a slightly slower but more powerful character. As for enemies, it's tough since none of these guys have names that I'm aware of. We've got a few different guys in a basic fighting stance, some may have shades or slightly different hairstyles, but they're easy to deal with since they just walk slowly up to you to try and get a single punch in. Then there are these slightly taller ones with bandanas on who are a bit smarter and move around more and will actually try to avoid being punched by me. After that are all the big bald guys who seem to run out of breath after every attack they perform. That guy was the last enemy of this screen and we transition to a different one. This time I'm walking down a back alley, I think. I get another new enemy here, these boxer types with the wrapped hands. This part doesn't last long itself but ends at me reaching the back of the bus. During the last wave I get my first of these acrobatic guys that I can only call the Power Walkers thanks to their animation. I then get on the bus for the boss fight. The inside of this thing is massive. First I have to take out this big blonde guy who doesn't even try fighting back. But then comes the real boss and he's actually a bastard. With his hammer he can knock you down, then get you again while you're getting back up. But I eventually get in a pattern of jump kicks that avoid his hammer and take him down quickly after that. I'm told to probe the next hideout, and since this game was Japanese only, I have no idea what the text after is saying. For stage 2, Smuggler's Wharf, I'll be showing my Alan playthrough. He was a former delinquent until Rick took him under his wing. He's the slightly faster but weaker one with a weird shoulder charge dash thing. I found him too weak though and not fast enough to make up for it, so I preferred playing as Rick. Another new enemy here, the old balding men with eye patches who shamble over to you like they've just shit themselves. Despite wielding claws, they mostly like to throw out crouch kicks instead. One thing I keep forgetting is that I can instantly kill most of these by throwing them up and into the water. That's about it for this part, and the stage keeps going on until I reach this large ship, walking on when the last wave is defeated. On board, a pallet swap of the guy who didn't fight on the bus is here, but he doesn't do much better. I just walk forward a bit and the screen stops at this door until I take everyone out. The third screen has me inside, but there's nothing new to talk about other than me smashing up the walls. This screen is longer than the second though and stops at another door. Then comes the boss, the captain. He's got a hook hand and a peg leg that swaps sides whenever he turns around, and he loves to throw out Hagar's spinning double lariat. Much like the boss from the last level, he can be a right prick about it and keep catching you the moment you finish your recovery. The lariat is actually his only attack, so I have to do what I did on the last boss, time jump attacks right, then I pin him in the corner and keep him stunned until he dies. Back to Rick for stage 3, the railroad yard. I'm on a small cart moving at high speeds taking on whatever enemies it rams into. Luckily for these guys, getting rammed by a high-speed spinning drill just ends with being lifted onto the cart. I knew this by the time I was doing the Alan playthrough, but it takes me ages to figure out that I could just throw every enemy up again to send them off the cart for an instant kill. It's probably the most fun part of the game, which is pretty damning and gives away how I feel about it in the end. Eventually the cart reaches the end and crashes, sending me flying off. Now I have to walk along this track like a normal level. I can damage the trains in the back, but that's it, and there's nothing new until I reach the tunnel at the end and get another new enemy. So, the majority of the enemies in this game have some weird faces, but this guy's chin is shaded to look like the end of the butt plug, and I think that tops everything. I take everyone out and go inside the tunnel. Our next boss is supposed to be a mechanic, but the grey hair, the tightness of the overalls, and the way his pecs are drawn makes him look more like someone's grandmother who's trying to squeeze back into the exercise leotard she hasn't worn in 30 years. Especially when the one in pinkish purple shows up to help out. They've got 2 main special moves, a kind of Shoryuken and Kano's Cannonball attack a year before Kano existed. Those moves also mean that my jump kick stun strategy doesn't work anymore. Thankfully, to avoid making this fight too tedious, it feels like these guys take more damage than the other bosses, so I'm not fighting them for too long. And stage 4 is the secret factory. After most of the enemies outside of bosses being just blokes dressed like 80s and 90s hard men, despite this being 1939, we finally see the standard beat 'em up Manny Nagi enemy. Turns out the steel pipe trumps karate as they're too afraid to try hitting me. I keep that pipe right up until the end of the screen as well, until some boxes fall out of the sky and knock it out of my hands. Once everyone's taken out, it's onto the next screen, the crate room. This is a long stretch with nothing new happening and no new enemies. Some boxes follow me halfway through and the crates in the back are swapped with barrels. That's it, and at the end I go down the stairs into the boss room. Said boss being some sort of cyborg. 1939. He's got an extending fist and he's so heavy that throwing him shakes the entire room. You can get him in the jump attack cycle until he reaches the end of the screen, but it's tough as he can punch you right out of it first. This fight goes on for a while though, and his one punch and throw don't keep it from feeling tedious. We've now reached the headquarters for stage 5. The first screen is a short walk along this wall to a big door while fighting off a large amount of enemies, none new. The second screen has me going inside and fighting my way along this corridor to the next door, where at the end I have a rematch with the stage 2 boss. I go through the door and up the stairs to the next corridor where, to mix things up, I'm going left instead of right. I have to fight the stage 3 boss again here, but at least this time it's just one of him. I then reach the end of this one and have to fight another wave of normal enemies before I go up more stairs. Turns out Rick is so strong he can punch safes open with his bare fists. This floor starts with a wave of nothing but the big guys, followed by a wave of just bandana guys and the long-haired men, then more big guys and claw wielders before I go up another floor. Buttplug Chin is back and I have to fight several of him while avoiding falling safes. Make my way to the end and I have to fight the stage 2 and stage 3 bosses at once. Not much else to say, and after taking them out, I'm next in a lift. Can't attack this guy inside while I pick up items and get off at the roof. I walk along until I see this blimp and the lift attendant reveals himself to be a kabuki performer. He mainly just moves forward with several palm slaps, but I eventually get him in several jump kick cycles. He's got a load of health so it takes him ages to die. That level is much longer than the rest of the game, 10 minutes of my less than 40-minute playthrough. The blimp takes off and we just barely manage to get on board for stage 6, last level. To start with, there's a wave of the basic enemies, then when I can get the screen moving I get a mix of the larger ones, and then one last buttplug chin at the end before I can climb this ladder. Moving left again on the next screen and we get the worst part of the game, having to fight 2 cyborgs at once, along with this guy with the pool cue. That guy is the final boss, by the way. You can knock the cue out of his hands and use it yourself, but he will go berserk and make it his priority to get it back. Apart from that, his only real attack is some sort of spinning roundhouse. He's not a threat, it's just the cyborgs dragging this out. The first one goes down relatively early on, but the second sticks around for the rest of the fight, as I defeat the last 2 within seconds of each other. I find the rich man's kidnapped daughter. Her and the 2 player characters have maybe a photo, I think. I still haven't learned Japanese in the 8 minutes since this video started. And the blimp flies off over the credits. This game isn't awful, but I didn't care for it. The 1939 setting was kind of wasted as most of the enemies look modern for their time. It's not the most satisfying beat 'em up I've ever played and the soundtrack was bland. But still not the worst beat 'em up I've ever played. I definitely choose to replay this over Bad Dudes or Renegade. Just dull really.